Nerd Talks.
Welcome back, nerds, to another episode of Nerd Talks. I'm here with my co-host, Mason. And we are discussing failed and successful franchises. Now, we're going to cover a couple of different franchises. I know we have one franchise that we like to focus here on heavily, but there's been a couple recently. So let's just dive right in. Do we want to start with?
Let's start with your shirt. Let's start in that territory and what they do well.
Okay. The MCU versus others.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can talk about a success story, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So they started off, and I'm going to come back to it a lot, and it's the reason I think they were successful is because they have this tone in the genre, and the tone of all of their movies are the same, but the genre is different, and I think that's what made it, creative. When we start in the MCU, we have Iron Man, which I guess it's more of just like an action kind of generic superhero movie in terms of genre.
Yeah.
And then we go into Captain America, which is more like a war story, and then we go into Thor, which is more science fiction. Like Thor: The Dark World is more fantasy, whereas the first one is more science fiction. And they keep the same tone, as far as like how everything looks. We have the same feel for the world. Everyone feels like they're kind of in the same world. Even through Avengers, and even like Guardians of the Galaxy, tonally looks and feels similar. Like I would believably see all these characters in the same world. But the genre again is different. We have obviously a spacefaring science fiction movie, and I think they were pretty successful. Obviously we got up until Endgame, and that's where we get some issues after Endgame, and people had a little bit of issues with some of the stuff. We started releasing a bunch of shows, which again all felt tonally similar, but the genres were different, and that's why I really liked early Disney Plus TV,
Sure.
like WandaVision,
yeah.
And then we went into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was more like a thriller, like a spy thriller type situation. And then at some point, we just started doing too much, and I feel like they kept the same tone, but the genres kind of bled, and I felt like we didn't get exactly what everyone was looking for. I still enjoyed most of the stuff. But what do you think?
I just thought it was too much. I only have so much free time.
Sure.
To keep up on stuff, right? I can't be watching 7 different TV series with the hour-long episode for each one. Like, I don't know what they expect out of me. It's too much.
In a year, and then also you're not sure if I need to watch this one before the next one.
Correct.
And I think that was a big part of it too, is like early on they were connected, and they were only slightly connected. If you went into Avengers blind, you would have been fine.
Correct.
If you
It's
knew
actually how I did it for the most part. To Avengers was blind, pretty much. I mean, I'd seen Iron Man, but I hadn't seen any of the prerequisites. But I could understand the premise of the movie, and like the characters were easy enough to understand, even if you hadn't had a super big background knowledge of them to like get into it, especially from like a kid's level who doesn't have all that time or isn't paying attention to everything. So I think that was something they were doing good early on. But then you get to these later episodes of like we have Loki going on, and like I haven't even started Loki. I've seen like bits and pieces from scrolling.
Sure.
I know at some point he turns into like a chair, like he's a guy and there's cables and there's a chair. I don't really know, but like he locks himself behind a door. Okay. I think it's the end is what it is.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, but no clue what's going on. Haven't seen WandaVision. I know at some point there's a dome. Don't know what that's about, but like there's all these things, and like I can still watch all the movies and enjoy them.
Sure.
But it's, at some points just get lost. I mean, it was like that when Wanda appeared in Doctor Strange. Didn't really know what was going on. Thought the movie was fine, but
yeah. And I think and that's a good example right there is the WandaVision into Doctor Strange, right? So obviously, if you're going to watch Doctor Strange, we would assume you've seen the first one.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Which I have.
If you didn't, then then I guess that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
But it is the point where it's like, if you didn't watch WandaVision and you didn't understand where Wanda was coming from in that scenario, then you're kind of lost, because some spoilers. She's looking for her. She's looking for her children in the Multiverse of Madness, and that's a storyline that's continuing from WandaVision. So if you didn't see WandaVision, then you kind of have no idea. And where's the point where she like turned from good to evil? Well, you can see that in WandaVision. You can see how that's happening. But yeah, if you just start Multiverse of Madness, then you're kind of lost.
Yeah, I completely got it wrong then, because I thought it was just like distressed mother like sees an alternate reality where she has kids, and I was like, I mean, I guess I can see how that would bring you back, but like, are these actually her kids, or is this just a different Wanda?
Yeah, and the context of WandaVision would definitely put all that in perspective, because spoilers. I'm going to spoil a bunch of stuff for you. She has children in the show. She actually. It's a strange thing that we could go on at another time, but anyway, she actually has children there, and then she loses them because they weren't real.
Got it. Okay.
So she goes and she tries to find a reality where they still do exist, because she believes that in another reality they do exist, and obviously they do. We see that all happen in the movie, but without the context of actually watching WandaVision, you're just kind of lost on that plot line, at least. And I think that happens quite a bit throughout all of these later movies. And if you watch them all, and I can appreciate every little mention. But if you're not that diehard into it, and you're only watching the movies, especially in these later movies, then it's a little harder to grasp it. And there are things where it's like Spider-Man is part of the nostalgia loop. It's like a check mark in this nostalgia loop. So if you didn't watch the movies before that, well, that was the point of that movie. But some of these other just like movies that they've been going through, and you're just kind of lost on it.
I also think the Spider-Man one too, like outside of it being a nostalgia loop, also was a different like marking point of like Marvel and Sony like truly being on the same page for the first time, instead of them being like at war with each other over who gets to do what. Like we're finally together on something.
Well,
so those were obviously successful.
No, yeah, and the MCU will continue to be successful. Wonder Man, I think, is probably in my top 5 favorite MCU shows. Might be projects overall. It was a really good show. It was standalone, so you don't have to watch or know it. I say it's standalone, but you do have to kind of know a little bit. You have to at least have seen Iron Man 3, probably. But at this point, that's so long ago, and I don't think you need to see it in order to kind of enjoy Wonder Man. But we just talked briefly about it, so let's kind of dial in onto the sort of rivaling failure, and that's the Sonyverse. And their so if you don't know, Disney has a deal with Sony to include Spider-Man in their projects, because Sony actually owns the rights to creating Spider-Man movies. So Disney had to do a deal in order to work with them, and there's kind of a lot of strange things within these movies. Within this deal, I imagine it's a stack of paper, like a huge document of characters that can and can't be. Like, Marvel can't make a movie with Kingpin in the movie, but they can make Kingpin in the show. Yeah. Whatever. So anyway, so Sony has, other than their deal with Disney to make their 6 movies, or to make the Spider-Man movies, they have 6 movies. And these 6 movies are the Venom trilogy, Kraven, Madam Web, and Morbius.
Yeah. Okay. I for a second kind of forgot where you're going, but I remember those awful travesties.
Yeah. So we're talking about a failed franchise now.
Yeah, the good old Sinister Six.
Yeah.
I think we should definitely start with Morb. He's clearly the biggest example of what they did wrong.
It is crazy that they have 6 movies to call it the Sinister Six. Yes. It's crazy. That's crazy.
that's not even like a joke at the movies. That is just what the group is called. So.
Well, yeah, they were attempting. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were attempting to build the Sinister Six over their movies, but coincidentally, they have ended up with 6 terrible ass movies.
Yep.
That we can now coin the Sinister Six.
Let's leave Morb for the end because
Okay.
he's that bad.
Okay.
Start with like.
I'm just thinking about the time they replayed Morbius in theaters. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Start with Madam Web. That one's
Okay.
kind of fresh, I guess.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So let's start with what did they start with? Venom. We'll start with Venom. Yeah. Let's start with Venom.
It didn't have a bad run. Obviously, we have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Like the first one's fine.
The first one was great. I think tonally it was great. It was Venom, I think, different than we're used to seeing it, because the only time that we ever saw it was in Spider-Man 3, and they kind of like butchered it. They had Topher Grace, and I love Topher Grace, that 70s show. But he just wasn't the Eddie Brock I think that we wanted or were looking for. But when they did Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, I think they kind of nailed it there.
Well, I just think you need to start doing more Toms in movies about Marvel characters in general.
Tom actors?
Yeah. Tom Hiddleston, Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Tom actually, just Tom H.
Tom H.
Tom H. Tom Hanks, you're next.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Venom was good. It appealed to, a large audience. I think it had kind of like a little bit of the creepiness, but it was actually comedic movie when you actually watched it. It did feel kind of like almost like a Spider-Man, but clearly Venom, where it was like it has serious moments, but it also had like these comedic moments. And I think that they drew a lot from the Marvel movies, the MCU movies, because that's what a lot of the MCU movies do. They have like these small periods of comedy, or just like these little quips or witty character that says something funny. And that was great. And then the other 2 movies, I fell asleep through the second one. And I love the character Carnage, and I can't think of the actor's name.
You do this every time. It's Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. And I love Woody Harrelson. I don't know why I would forget his name, but he was in that movie, and I was really excited for it, and I just ended up falling asleep. And then I haven't even seen the third one, and I heard it was bad. And all I know is that there was a trailer where Venom, the symbiote suit, attaches itself to a horse, and that's
Couldn't tell you. I was kind of hoping you would power through number 3 because.
This is me powering through it. That's about all I know about
Fair
it,
enough.
and didn't seem that great.
Yeah, I've seen 1 and 2 just like you. Not sitting down for 3.
And then so overall, Venom I would say is overall a success as far as a trilogy in itself.
I would argue the opposite. It started up here, and then it ended much lower than it should have.
Sure.
Like if they would have kept going from where they were on 1 and just kept that across all 3, they would have been fine. But they went from 1 to B.
You're right.
0.
And I'm thinking of other Marvel trilogies like the original Spider-Man and the X-Men, where both of them were like pretty good, really good for the second movie, and then usually fell off in the third one.
Yeah.
But this is just a downward slope. So I guess it's not great overall.
Yeah.
And then their other 3 movies are
So bad. Oh, so bad.
tragedies. So I think Craven was the newest one. I haven't seen it.
Not gonna.
Probably will never watch it. After the other 2, it's just like, what are we doing here? And I think it was really Madam Web that killed it for me personally.
Oh, there was one that got the ball rolling though. Madam Web was the nail in the coffin.
For sure. Morbius was first of not Venom movies that they made, and we have the meme. It's Morbin time. The movie was terrible. We had Jared Leto, who we keep letting be in these huge cinematic movies, and why Jared Leto? Why do you come in and every time you just butcher the movie? And it's just like,
Hear me out. He doesn't have butchering every movie. It's not always Jared Leto's fault. Sometimes it is, right? But the Joker, that wasn't on Jared Leto. The Joker just didn't need to be there, period.
That is correct.
So,
why were you there? And we will talk about DC, but why the hell were you in the Suicide Squad movie? You did not need to be like that at all. And I'll tell you why it happened when we get to that. But
yeah.
It was frustrating. And anyway, so we let him be Morbius here after being the Joker and that flopping. And, you know, this was a total and utter failure. So Morbius is supposed to be a vampire, but not related to the Dracula vampires. Some other kind of... Which Dracula is in Marvel, if you don't know.
Yeah.
But some other kind of vampire, I guess, that fights Spider-Man, theoretically, in comics and stuff. Not in the movies, because we can't put Spider-Man in these movies because Tom Holland is currently Spider-Man. And we have a Disney deal that we have to uphold. So we can't put him in our own movies. Again, strange deal. So this movie is terrible. Everyone is memeing it. It's Morbin time. And it's just bad. The plot is bad. No one understands what's going on. There's so many plot holes in the movie. And I'm only telling you from articles and reports that I've read because I've never actually seen the movie. Have you seen the movie?
Don't ask me silly questions.
Okay.
I'm not watching that one either.
And then Sony does the craziest thing that anyone has ever seen a movie studio do.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does Morbius go into theaters, it's probably a mediocre success at the box office. I think it was actually about even as far as box office earnings, as far as money spent. But overall, critics and audience rate this movie so low, meme the hell out of it. And Sony, for some reason, thinks that because people are memeing it so hard, that we should put this movie back in the theaters for a second run. And not only do we do that, but we flop it a second time. In reported history, no movie has ever been to the theaters in 2 separate instances and flopped both times. We give this award to Morbius.
Yeah. Which, I don't want to deem it this title, because I'm sure at some point something will be worse than it. Hopefully not, but at some point. But, like, it's probably got to be the worst movie about a superhero character or supervillain character ever made.
Until Madam Web. I don't know. I haven't seen Morbius. I have seen Madam Web, so I can't speak for sure on that situation. But if you're watching Madam Web, the plot doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, have you seen Madam Web?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So there's the Sinister Six, of which I've seen 1/3, and the rest I'm not willing to watch.
Okay. So I'll just recap Madam Web real quick. So Madam Web is supposed to be a Spider-Man character, and she's supposed to be eventually, not in the movie, it doesn't happen, but an interconnected web between the Spider-Verses and like all the Spider Peoples, right? She's supposed to be one of these Spider People, not a Spider-Man variant, just a Spider person. Mm-hmm. Okay, these are different. This is different than the Spider-Verse. There's a lot of weird things around Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. He's just so popular. Anyway, so in this movie, we get introduced to Madam Web, as well as 3 other Spider women. They're not all Spider Woman. There is one Spider Woman, but the others are not Spider Woman. And then Ezekiel, who is also another Spider person. And Ezekiel is trying to, for some reason, kill these 3 women because he sees them in the future kill him or something like that. I actually don't even remember most of the plot of the movie. I just remember the bad parts, like them going to Madam Web, who at the time can see portions of the future but not actually have any good, cool powers yet, as she's still developing. And she says, "Oh, come stay with me so that you're protected," instead of just going to like the police or any kind of authority in real life. And then simultaneously also leaves them to go halfway across the country. Or I think she goes down to Brazil where Ezekiel was like born, like got his powers and stuff like that. And I'm probably butchering most of the plot, but this is how bad the movie was. Like, I don't even care. I just remember these portions because I was like, these are so bad.
See, I don't even know about the bad plot portions. I had a buddy who went to go watch the movie, and his takeaway wasn't even that the plot was bad. He couldn't watch the movie in theaters because of how bad the production was of the movie. Okay,
this is another thing. Okay, so there's this thing called ADR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm a student of digital media, and off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what ADR means. Essentially, what ADR though is when we're doing the production, they're not taking, sometimes they are, but usually not taking the words that we are saying when they're recording with the camera and using that in the production. Usually we record voice lines after. This is, if it was just you and me talking, we might have a boom here and they record that instantly. But if we're in the middle of a fight or action scene, and especially when there's like CGI and stuff going on and a lot of quick moving parts, we would mouth the words, or we'd probably say the actual line, but then afterward we would have to go and record that. Now, when they did this in the movie, it was bad. And you can either tell that, one, it wasn't matching up. So either someone didn't capture the audio, because you can easily audio sync. I can easily audio sync on like 2 buttons. It would take me to audio sync the camera to a microphone. So they either didn't have the original audio to sync it, and they were just trying to line it up visually. Don't ever do this because it's hard. Or they changed the line of what the person was saying. So they were mouthing something, and then the voice line that they did over the top of it wasn't the same, so that the words that they were moving to make their mouth move, if you can read lips, like, you can tell. And like there was other parts of the production, but that was the part that stood out to me the most. And it was like,
that's what he said. And he is not a film student of any kind. He doesn't work in film, doesn't study film. And if you're telling me that people that are like around the age of 18 who know stuff about film because they're watching a movie but they don't know how to produce or anything can point out production mistakes, like, this is going to be bad. That's
huge. And that really killed the movie for me. I mean, I finished watching it because I was interested to see the women become these spider people, because those characters are kind of interesting to me, but they actually never even became those characters. So when they showed them in trailers and in previews and stuff like that, it was they were showing in the preview the future sight of Madame Web, seeing that happen in the future. So they never actually suit up in the movie. It's just like one scene that they show.
Got it. Even worse. Even something I despise even more. If you're going to show me something that we're not going to get to, like, because the character can see in future sight, I want to know that that's a future sight vision and not just, maybe it'll be in the movie.
Yeah, maybe this is
like, don't tease me.
Yeah.
It's not what I want.
Yeah. It's like showing a dream sequence in the trailer and making it look like it's just part of the movie.
Correct.
And terrible.
Like, this isn't a comedy show. I don't want the bait and switch here. I want one to two, not one to... Oh, back to one. Gotcha.
Yeah. Just like, give me what I, give me what you showed me, at least. And I mean, Marvel has done this. Marvel proper has done this as well. But they've done it where it's like, we're not trying to leak a certain character, like for that Spider-Man movie, or the other Spider-Man
Lizard or whatever.
Yeah, there's a scene where there's 3 villains coming at Tom Holland, but 2 of them are like not looking at him; they're like looking below him. But they edited out the other 2 Spider-Man so that we didn't know that they were going to be there. Which that to me is fine, because you're trying to keep something back away so that that we don't know that. Surprise us later, not
And I'd say like in that instance it kind of worked for him, because people then started speculating like, oh, it's got to be the other 2 Spider-Men, and it was, but like people were like, no, it's probably just like bad production. It's like, but he's got people talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we can move on.
No.
Oh.
We haven't dogged on Marvel enough. We had a dog on them just a little more.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are some other movies that have done really well for them, and there are some other movies that it seems like they're trying to, at this point in history, remake relevant or push the other one under the rug a little bit.
Okay.
And maybe it's just me looking at it a little too critically, but like, you ever seen the original Fantastic Four movie with with Mr. Krasinski in it?
Okay. Well, okay.
Or sorry, Chris Evans.
Okay.
Got it wrong.
Okay.
Chris Evans.
Okay.
Wrong one.
Okay.
Damn, Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead.
So like, if you watch it in its context, I haven't seen it since I was a very little kid.
Sure.
So It's probably a fine movie. I have a little kid brain with movies, so I would have to rewatch it, but I don't think it's necessarily the greatest of movies to write home about. But it seems like they're just trying to, like, distance themselves from that iteration of the movie.
Sure.
And put in this new version of the Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer, and I mean, I haven't watched yet. It's on my list of movies to watch.
Sure.
But it seems like they're trying to go away from this old, like, 2004 to 2010, like, Marvel movies, and introduce all these new characters so they can, like, correct any mistakes there were.
Sure.
Or any flops that may have happened with it.
Sure. So at the time, Marvel did not have the rights to create a Fantastic Four movie. And this is a Fox production.
Oh. Okay.
So a lot of the early Marvel movies are actually Fox productions because Marvel was actually going bankrupt, so they actually had to sell off a lot of rights to their movies, and this included big characters like Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Hulk, Spider-Man, which they have gotten most of those back. They still are trying to deal with Hulk. As you noticed, we haven't gotten a Hulk movie in some time, and obviously we have to deal with Spider-Man, and they recently just purchased Fox. I say recently, but it was like 2019. So we can rehash these characters. So I don't think they're necessarily trying to sweep it under the rug. Mainly because of Deadpool and Wolverine, where we actually address them. We actually bring Chris Evans back as his role from that original run of Fantastic Four.
Yeah, okay. They do. But
what we are trying to sweep under the rug is the other Fantastic Four movie.
The original one.
No.
No?
We're not even shying away from that one. They actually make a little bit of references to that movie in the new movie as well.
Okay.
The original one. And they actually brought back all 4 original cast members that were the original Fantastic Four. I'm talking about like the 80s movie or whatever. Yeah. And they actually have multiple like extras roles within this movie. So just like here and there you can see them if you know who they are. You can see them in this new movie. But no, the one with Michael B. Jordan and Teller with the new. He's in the new. Oh my God! Top Gun, Maverick.
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller, yes. He was Mr. Fantastic, in this reboot. Did you see this? Do you even know what I'm talking about right now?
The newest Fantastic Four movie?
Not the newest one.
Okay.
The one before this one.
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
This must be one that's really got to go under the rug.
Okay.
Does it have to go under the rug?
Like, you shouldn't even know about it. Like, the fact that you didn't know about it was good for you.
Okay.
So there was the original run of the Fantastic Four, like in the 80s, and then we did like the newer one with like Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, and those movies were actually pretty decent for the time and what they had to work with. And then they tried to do another remake, and it had Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan, Kate Mara, I believe, and I don't actually even know who the Thing was as far as an
yes,
actor.
the Quake.
Yeah, different character. But that was terrible. We are trying to sweep that one under the rug. But yeah, why do you think they're trying to sweep it under the rug? Like, why do you...
So, obviously, Deadpool himself is more of a fourth wall breaking comedic character who's still supposed to be like a serious like fighter. You know, he's not like, we're not diminishing his abilities by introducing comedy to it, but like he himself is a comedy character.
Sure.
When you go down that role.
Yeah. And
so it seemed like instead of those being like callbacks or references, which I guess they are, they just didn't seem like they were in a good light. It was more of like a look at this old thing, we're gonna make fun of it. Whereas like when you look at the Blade introduction in that movie, it's like, oh, that's just Blade.
Okay.
Like, we're not poking any fun at Blade.
I see.
Or the introduction of, we haven't had Gambit before, but the introducing Gambit, they're like, none of this is a joke. This is all like, they're in the comedy movie, but these are like serious appearances. Whereas Chris Evans was more of like a, oh, it's Chris Evans. Why is it Chris Evans? You know, sort of thing.
Sure. It's probably have to be its own separate episode. I have Deadpool and Wolverine under a very critical lens, and not in a negative way. There are so many things within this movie, and it's such a meta movie, that I don't think they're poking fun. I think they're addressing what has happened here.
Okay.
We have Disney, who has, if you've seen the movie, so there's a part where they have the 20th Century Fox logo, and it is mostly destroyed. What is left is an X
Yep.
signaling that we are still dealing with the X-Men, and we still have this to come, right?
Mm.
But another fashion about it is they've just taken all these characters and we are getting rid of them and or we're going to rehash them, right? So it's not, I don't think so much as they're poking fun, but addressing what has happened in that they've taken on Fox as an actual company, and now we have to readdress these characters because a lot of them are really big deals within, the greater context of Marvel, especially the mutants, which is, like a third of all Marvel comics has to deal with basically just mutants in various forms.
Yeah.
And it's a really big thing that they have to address. And I don't think they're poking fun necessarily that... I mean, obviously they were poking fun in the movie. Like, that was the idea of the movie. But it was such a meta movie that I think that they were trying to address what was going on, And, like, there's the line that sticks with me. And I don't like the line necessarily because I actually want it to happen. And that's when Wesley Snipes says...
I'm the only blade.
Yeah. What does he say?
There's only one blade, and there's only ever going to be one blade.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Deadpool looks at the camera and kind of like, gives an eyebrow raise because Blade, the new Blade is stuck in production hell. Mm-hmm. And we might probably never see it. Eventually, I think we will once we do the supernatural stuff. But I think we have mutants on the table now that we want to deal with. But I think it was such a critical lens at all of the other movies, and we could talk about the other I was gonna say X-Men movies, the other Marvel movies, but like the X-Men and there was Blade, and I don't think those are weird because the Fantastic Four was probably a success that became a failure, and eventually we did feel like we forgot about it.
Yeah.
Whereas, the X-Men had its up and downs, and we can make this just a Marvel successes and failures, and maybe we have to address.
That was the last one I really wanted to address.
Okay. But yeah, because the X-Men has up and downs where it was successful and then it wasn't, and then it came back, and we got a future, I think, with the mutants. So we'll come back to that.
Yeah, especially when they release the newer X-Men continuations, we can go over it then.
For sure. Well, yeah, it's coming at the end of this year. We will see.
I know, but we'll just do it then.
Yeah, for sure.
But now it's time to bag on the best superheroes that have ever been created in a comic book standpoint.
Okay.
Because when we look at them in a movie, they just keep getting it wrong.
Yeah.
We're bringing it to DC. And we should start with the obvious one, who I think has had multiple successes compared to other characters, which is Batman. I think they've done Batman right a few times, and they've also done Batman wrong a few times. But if we look at the Dark Knight movies, considered some of the best superhero movies of all time.
Yeah, one of them is considered by a lot of people to be the best superhero movie ever made.
Correct. You have some super iconic roles. Obviously Batman himself, but Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah.
Bane, who gets poked at quite a bit of fun at, but I still think is done quite well.
I think it is done quite well.
Yeah. And then my personal favorite of all the Batman movies, the newest one with Robert Pattinson, mainly because it focuses on him being a detective.
An actual detective?
Yes, and where because that's his tagline, he's the world's greatest detective, even though he's a crime fighter and everything. He's the world's greatest detective. So when they took that aspect, I was really, it's a Batman enjoyer. I enjoyed that the most about that movie. Also. So I think they've done a lot right by Batman. And they've also done a lot wrong by Batman. Sure. And I think this is just a time period thing, but if you look at early Batman, not a fan of his design. He's got the tidy whities. I've been a tidy whitey hater.
The original?
Original,
okay,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then we had those late 80s, early 90s Tim Burton ones, and those were kind of they were fun as campy comic book movies, but then
I mean, we have Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze.
Yep,
Mr. Freeze. And then my favorite trash man, Danny DeVito, is out here playing the Penguin, which I don't think there's a better actor to play the Penguin in comical aspect of how they did that Penguin.
Yeah.
The new Penguin with Robert Pattinson movies is a good Penguin, but in the fact of a short, round man where they gave him a prosthetic nose, that is the Penguin right there in the comic book aspect.
Yes.
Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
I do think, though, the best thing to come out of those movies is by far, and I think it's just because he's a genius, the Tim Burton soundtrack for those movies. It is the most iconic Batman sound you can hear.
For sure.
Whenever you play a Lego Batman game, you play a Batman game, or you even watch a Batman movie, they always reference one theme, and it is the Tim Burton Batman theme, which came out in the 80s and is still relevant now. And
That's fair.
we have that, in Marvel with Alan Silvestri doing the Avengers theme, he did it so well, they just continue it on, right?
Yeah.
But that Batman theme by Tim Burton is super iconic to Batman, and it will probably always stick with Batman. And I think that just speaks to Tim Burton, because he's just great when it comes to music, but
Sure.
I think that's the most important thing to come out of those 80s Batmans.
Okay. Yeah, Batman's had interesting up and downs. We can talk about DC overall, though.
For sure. That's just we'll say their highest success so far.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And
Starting off on a good note.
You would think, yeah, for sure. And you'd think it would be Superman because Superman's so iconic, but Batman seems to be
Yeah.
I think he might be more popular than Superman at this point. I think it was the other way around, maybe 20 years ago. Yeah. So let's dive in and let's kind of speak on the original DCEU before it became the DCU, and we can kind of talk about that transfer and the failure that really is the DCEU. And we come off of the back of the Dark Knight trilogy, and theoretically that was actually supposed to be the Batman that we were going to use for this kind of Justice League thing that was building up, because DC wanted to mimic what Marvel had going for them, because they also have a large number of characters. They also have the Justice League, Avengers level. They're actually maybe higher than the Avengers level.
They're probably a lot higher than the Avengers.
Depending on the time period, as far as the characters they have in the movies. But anyway, that's tit for tat. But yeah, I think they wanted to originally start with Christian Bale, and they had the super realistic world that they had built up. And, we didn't really play by a lot of comic book rules. Everything was made sure that it was could realistically be sort of in real life, theoretically. And that's how they kind of built their Dark Knight trilogy. And then we went into Man of Steel, where it has to break those rules, but they also still kept it very grounded, as far as when they came down to Earth in what the hell is his name? Zod. General Zod. They didn't make him, a comical, villain. He was a very serious, everything was very serious in the movie, in the context of the movie. And there was still talks about having this Justice League, and it wasn't necessarily for sure supposed to be part of the world that Dark Knight was supposed to be with, but then they also wanted it to be able to be a standalone film. So they made it as a standalone film with the intention of it being able to be connected, possibly.
And I think that's truly where we start going wrong, is when they start doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is you either gotta get on the train of these are going to connect, or these are standalone movies.
Yeah, you gotta commit.
You can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, people are gonna see that you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So, you look at a Marvel movie, they're Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3. We look at Spider-Man, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. These are clearly connected. We get to the Avengers, and that's where they do their extra tie-ins. Clearly these weren't meant to necessarily set up the Avengers immediately, but they're still tied into the Avengers. You can't go, all right, here's the Superman movie. Here's the second Superman movie, but it's not really the second Superman movie. It's Superman 1, but also 2. It's just make Superman 2 if you're gonna make Superman 2.
Yeah. And I think that's where they messed up, is Man of Steel was great. I actually really like Man of Steel. I think it's probably one of my higher on the DC movies, at least as far as within the Snyderverse, I'll say. Obviously The Dark Knight is iconic, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time. But Man of Steel, I feel really nailed down what Superman was supposed to be, and they kind of were giving us a realistic version of Superman. And then we go into Superman 2 fight Batman. I don't even know the title of the actual movie, because
it's just Batman versus Superman. Or Superman versus Batman.
Yeah, there's a colon or something.
The rest of that's irrelevant.
Yeah, there's a colon. It's like the dawn of something or something like that. What it should have just been was like origins of the Justice League or something like that.
Yeah.
We should have given it a different title instead of trying to kind of market it as a Superman movie because there was so much Batman in it.
Yeah.
We got introduced to our Batman in this movie. We got introduced to our Wonder Woman in this movie. Lex Luthor shows up, terribly casted, by the way, and I love what's the guy that they cast for it? I can't even think of his name. He's in Now You See Me. He's a magician, dude. You know what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But
He's the name.
just to be clear, most people Now You See Me is a magician.
Okay.
That's like the whole point of the movie.
The lead guy, not
Yeah.
the original guy that you see and you're like, this guy's the lead.
No,
guy.
yeah.
Okay. Not Woody Harrelson, obviously, and not Franco.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they start putting all these people in this movie, and then the movie becomes sort of like, yeah, this is kind of them fighting, and Batman needs to fight him, which like was a plot hole in itself because like we didn't have a reason to fight Superman. Like Batman is always cautious of the other Justice League, and that's a big plot point that they use throughout a lot of the Justice League stories within comics and the show, like the animated shows and everything like that.
100%.
But like we didn't have enough time for that to be like an issue.
Yeah, you need that to build. It's not a drop it in sort of storyline, especially because like when you look at Batman in this context, it's supposed to be like I have a contingency plan for everyone if something happens where we need to neutralize said threat. And then this one they like present Batman almost as the threat, and it's like Batman's not the threat here, but Superman's clearly the good guy.
Yeah.
And that's just not in how the story goes normally whatsoever. Like one of them is clearly the villain because you take it from one of their perspectives when you do the comics. So, like, I think it was just an overall mess.
Yeah.
When it came to storytelling, the naming of it, some of the casting, as you've made clear. Which, no offense to, I think it's Ben Affleck's, and this is when he finally makes his Batman debut. Also, just not a good Batman.
No, I'm also not a Ben Affleck. I'm not generally a Ben Affleck fan. I can't say there's any movie that I've seen him in where I was just like, killed it.
I'm not gonna lie though, I think it's just because Christian Bale did so well that people are like skeptical until they see the movie. Like when the Robert Pattinson one came out, I was skeptical, and then I saw it and I was like, you know what? No, that's a good Batman right there.
He got it.
Yeah,
he got it.
So I think sometimes you do casting a little too well there, DC. Like settle down. Sometimes you nail it right on the head, and you screwed up for some other people. Yeah. Because I don't think Ben Affleck's a bad actor when it comes to playing a superhero.
Sure.
I just think that like we've already had such greatness, we can't settle for mediocrity now.
Yeah, and the Batman they used was already so like developed. Like he already had Robin and died.
Yep.
Like we see like Batman's like, or we see Robin's suit and everything. It's like we've skipped so far ahead because that's technically like the third Robin. Actually. So it's just like we had so much, and we don't need another Batman origin, but like you got to give us a little bit more context to like what this Batman is like or what's going on here. And we're just drilling the hell out of this one movie, but we got to continue on to the rest of the movies bigger. But I think this is where we saw that they weren't fully committed, and it was a little bit of a wash, and we were about to have even more issues come up very shortly here.
Yeah, well, I think so they have the Avengers, like that whole plot line. I think this one we consider the Snyderverse, and that's just the Snyderverse itself is a flop, and it's like these are the plot hole points where you see like the Snyderverse is just kind of falling apart. Not that Zack Snyder can't direct a movie, I just don't think he can't direct like this chain of events due to the way that it was written. And I'm not going to put this sole like struggle on him. But.
Sure. Well, and a lot of it I heard was production issues and just a lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And there was an issue that came up that he had a personal real life thing happen to him, in which he actually had to depart from being part of the Justice League originally, and that's why we got not the Snyderverse. It wasn't like, it was a very strange situation that I'm not going to go into because I don't know that much about it, and I don't want to talk about someone else's family because I know it had to deal with his family and stuff. But then we get Suicide Squad within this realm, and
the first one. And now we can talk about Jared Leto.
Yeah. And it was so, the idea is that we're going to create a movie that is very Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, where we're going to put a ragtag group of, like, comedic, like, weirdos, weirdos in, like, a good sense. Like, they're just, like, very, very different than, like, your average superhero.
Some of them are truly weirdos.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. And we were going to really nail down on Harley, which was a good casting, and obviously we like, Margot Robbie as Harley, but she just didn't need to be like in this movie. And then because she was in this movie, we had to tell about her origin, and because we had to tell about the origin, we had to give the Joker, and now we have the Joker.
So I think the problem was not from Harley being in the movie. I think Harley can be in that movie 100% because I think in Suicide Squad iterations where Harley's in it, it's good. I think the problem was they left Joker in too much.
Sure.
If they were just like, here's Jared Leto doing the origin with I forgot her name now. Everything's gone.
Sorry. Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Okay. So if they were just doing the Jared Leto is the origins piece for Harley Quinn and he's not in the film anywhere else.
Sure.
There we go. That's the way it should have been done. Instead, they were like, here's Jared Leto. He's a side main plot line to the story. And you're like, the main plot line is the Suicide Squad. And they go, here's Jared Leto. And they're like, that's so far left.
Yeah.
We don't need to go left. We want to go straight. And I think they needed to either, like you said, leave Harley Quinn just out of it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like she fits in so well that you just needed to not have the Joker do it. And I think this sets up Suicide Squad 2 as like why it was successful.
Mm-hmm.
Is they didn't obviously we already had Harley Quinn developed by that point, but if you look at it like that entire Jared Leto stuff cut out. Harley Quinn's in that movie. She's not attached to the Joker. There's this whole like breakaway from it. They reference and talking about sweeping under the rug too. They take all of these characters that were in the first one. Like there's Captain Boomerang who's still alive. Obviously Harley Quinn doesn't die in this movie, but spoilers. I think Captain Boomerang is the biggest example of this. He is taken and swept completely under the rug in this first, like, 20 minutes of this movie, where they're just like, old Suicide Squad. All of them are gone. There's no... Obviously, Will Smith's character leaves at the end of Suicide Squad 1, but is replaced by Idris Elba in this next one. But they get this whole new cast just shoved right in there, too. So...
And I think... and we can compare those two movies directly because I think that those are really showing. Mm-hmm. And it's a big part about production and kind of how they went about it. I'm guessing Zack Snyder did the first Suicide Squad, but I don't know for sure.
I don't know if it's him, but I know we get the switch to James Gunn.
James Gunn does the second one, and he does, I think, nail what we were kind of looking for. And it was a couple of things. So...
Oh, wrong one. There we go.
And he does a couple of things. So... I think he gets some of these characters back. So he gets to retain Harley, Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, and like the woman that runs it. I can't think of her name.
Yeah. It was played by Wanda Skies, right?
No.
Wrong lady.
Yes. That would be crazy. That would be really wild.
Hey. Down try it.
So they get to retain some of these characters, right? And He has a really good, movie here, and I think it was good, and I think part of that is that we didn't do these weird, we showed you the character, and we showed you what they're about, and when we wanted to declare some kind of background information, we didn't do a flashback to something totally different because tonally this isn't that kind of movie where we do flashbacks. We just told you about it, right? So Idris Elba is playing, I can't even remember the name of the character because I've never actually seen it before this movie, but he's playing this like assassin or whatever, and he's got a daughter, and we tell you about the daughter. Ratcatcher is Ratcatcher 2, and we tell you about Ratcatcher 1. There is a small part where they show you, but like we don't have to go back and like reiterate every time.
Right. Well, the flashback made sense too. It wasn't
Right. Yeah. It wasn't like out of left field. Like who's this new character? We knew. We knew this was Ratcatcher 1, and they're not a major plot point anywhere else.
Correct.
Whereas like flashback to a Joker, and it's like the Joker's here. What what the hell's going on?
Oh.
And I think that was a big part of it. And they weren't afraid to be kind of like silly and goofy with it. Where I think and there was a couple of like serious parts, but I think overall the movie was like heartwarming, and it was felt like very Guardians of the Galaxy, where it was like we're taking this ragtag group of basically criminals, and we kind of are showing you that they have heart and they're able to do the right thing in the end. Whereas Suicide Squad kind of just felt like it was like throwing the original one, not the second one.
Yeah.
Felt like it was kind of like thrown together, and we were just trying to have just like these action scenes almost, where it was just like, Deadshot gets up on a car and he just starts shooting everyone. It's like, oh, that's cool, And then, oh, dude, we have a huge kaiju battle and stuff like that. And it's just like, it was cool for action, but like you guys are missing the plot points. Like I actually don't even know really what the plot of that movie was, other than the Enchantress was there. And, like we were just trying to stop the Enchantress, I guess.
Yeah, and this is another good point to bring up with the original one is like some of the characters they used in that original Suicide Squad can just have like more character development for people to understand, because I don't think El Diablo is ever like, I think he's the most explained of those characters in the ragtag team that isn't a like major standout.
Sure.
And he's still just not well explained enough.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, and we get I can't think of her name, but she has the katana, and she has like the mask on. She's like sort of kind of like a big deal in like the comics and stuff. And like we give her like a little bit, and they're like, oh yeah, no big deal. Her sword has like 1,000 souls in it, and we're just like, Can I get a little background on that?
Yeah. But so yeah, their character development is also pretty not great in that movie. And I think when they do make that switch to Suicide Squad 2 and James Gunn does take over, I think he makes the transition clean too, where it's not just like, oh, we're hard resetting, we're sweeping everything under the rug, we're just going to pretend it not exists. Like he goes, you know what, this does exist. Here's how we're going to correct it. And they're done. Now we're going to move on.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I wouldn't say necessarily fresh, but it is fresh. It's a breath of fresh air when you get some of those people.
I felt it was much fresher than the other one. But the other one was like trying to be like weird and like kind of gritty, and like this one was like there's sun, whimsical. The sun comes out like the other one is like night the whole time. It's just like gritty dark.
So yeah, and I think like obviously he had experience doing the Guardians of the Galaxy, and now he's left doing that to do DC movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think also like all these other hard resets we've had in DC were the hard clean cut of like, oh, the rest never existed. We're just gonna ignore all that. Whereas James Gunn was like, no, we should address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad 1, not great. Everything we don't want from it, gone, dead. You see that happen. No questions. Everything's tied up. Nice, neat little bow. Movie 2, 20 minutes shorter, technically, but it's clean. It makes sense. No questions. And I think that was probably the second biggest success DC has had film-wise in their franchise history.
Yeah. I think overall it was good. And we can speak a little bit more on just the Snyderverse here before we, move fully into their new successes here. But just going back, after Suicide Squad, we got, Justice League, and I think it was just Justice League. So I think we got the other movies after that. And Justice League was so many plot holes and so many clear cuts and re-edits from different, there was stuff that clearly Snyder was there for and filmed and set up, and then they just like took some of that or didn't take any of it, and it just became a mess, I think, when you're watching Justice League. And they were trying to set up this really cool, these really cool plot lines, but it just overall fell apart. And they tried to throw, some of these, like we get the Flash, and we've seen the Flash enough that I think we don't need to rehash exactly what the Flash is, but I think we do need to dress, Cyborg a little bit, because I feel like not everyone knows about Cyborg.
Not everyone knows about Cyborg, but like, also which Cyborg are you using? Because I would like to point out, like, there's the Justice League Cyborg, there's Teen Titans Cyborg, there's just Cyborg standalone, the character. Like, there's plenty of iterations, and that's not just a character that you can throw in blindly like they did. And I'm not going to say they didn't do okay with the Flash, but like, it's not done great.
It's not done great. The only reason I think we were okay with the Flash there is because we have the CW show that came
Correct,
before this, so I think a lot of people that were like in the realm of watching DC were kind of familiar with that version, which is Barry Allen, which they did make sure to address because there are also several different iterations of the Flash, but that are actually different people, not just that. In that casting, he's not a bad actor, but it's just the running for me, it just kills me every time because he runs like a damn fool, and like I understand that he's moving at maybe a regular pace and for himself, but everyone else sees him moving really fast. So when he's running, he runs like that, but the way he's running just looks ridiculous. I could go on about his run; it's ridiculous. But and we bring in these characters. We get Aquaman too, who, I guess we understand where Aquaman comes from, so we don't really need like a huge explanation for him either. But it almost just felt like we threw them together, and then halfway through the movie, we're trying to resurrect Superman, and it's like, well, why did we kill him in the first place? Like, he died in the last one. It was like, what?
So here's another thing I think they did wrong too is they're when it comes to comic books for a long time, it was DC is the superior comic book brand. They had the better characters and the better storytelling.
Unfortunately, as a Marvel lover, still is. Continue.
Well, I was gonna say it's just become more evened out now. It's less DC's pummeling Marvel when it comes to comic books.
Sure.
And I don't want to diss on like Stan Lee in the initial writing of Marvel. It's just that's how it was.
Yeah.
And still is to an extent.
It still is for the most
part. Because they are such an established comic book character based thing, when they did their movies, I too think that they just relied a little too heavily on it, like people knowing what the Justice League was, and we've had a TV show for the Justice League. We have had countless comic books for the Justice League. We had Injustice the game. Like, people should know these characters. We're just going to throw them right in there. And it's like, you can't do that when it comes to a movie. Like, Timmy, who just finished playing Pokemon, is not going to know everything about Cyborg that is ever Cyborg, Like, you gotta set up Cyborg. You gotta set up literally everything. And another thing, too, is that unlike the Avengers, where you can focus on, like, 5 to 6 people out of the Avengers and put them in their one film, the Justice League is like hundreds of members. So for you to be like, we're gonna focus on 5 or 6, is honestly, I don't even know if I ever want to see a Justice League movie because of the fact of how complex it is. Like, I think they could do it, but it's gonna take so much more setup than just, oh man, we had Superman, Batman movie.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for them is that they were rushing it, right?
Yeah.
So I think, they were really trying to catch up to Marvel, so they were like, let's get the Justice League movie so we can rival their Avengers movies, right? But it was just like, if you guys would have just took your time really and addressed a lot of things, and even after Justice League, right? So we get Wonder Woman, which is basically Captain America the movie, but it's like we go jump back in time and tell how Wonder Woman kind of became the hero that she is, and it's just kind of like, okay, not that it was a bad movie, it was just like, okay. I guess Aquaman, I never seen it. They say it was good. Shazam comes out, and I actually really love the character of Shazam, and the movie was pretty decent overall, I guess. So that was, fun to go through. And then, we get to Shazam 2, and that's where I think it lost a lot of people. We get Wonder Woman 2, I think that also lost a lot of people. And the problem with the original Wonder Woman is that they needed someone who could rival Wonder Woman, so they made like Ares, the god of war, Ares, be the villain at the end, where she didn't need to do that. It could have just been a war story.
Yeah. And
I think it would have been fine. And then I'm trying to just buzz through the rest of the Snyderverse here.
I mean...
and then we get Black Adam.
I was going to say, that's like the big one you got to hit home.
Yeah, and Black Adam is... So we get Black Adam and Flash. So I'll address Flash first, and then we'll hit on Black Adam, because I think Black Adam is a good mirror to go into post Snyderverse, right? Yeah. So we get the Flash, and the Flash, when we're watching the Flash, we're already going into James Gunn going to run DC. I thought, and I think overall the internet thought, that when we were getting the Flash, that we were going to get a Flashpoint movie. We knew this because Marvel was doing all these crossovers and using old characters and these multiversal things. And we thought I think a lot of people thought that we were going to get a movie that was going to help reset DC.
Mm-hmm.
This movie did not do that.
Yep.
You get a bunch of, basically all it is the Spider-Man movie, but bad. It's just like we're just going back to old characters. We don't have an old Flash to go back to. Well, we do actually have other old Flashes to go back to, but we choose to bring back Michael Keaton, which we love Michael Keaton as Batman. He was whatever. But him in this movie is fun as Batman.
Yeah.
And the movie overall was fine, and it was okay, but it was just like, they were trying, I think, a little too hard. We start the movie, and immediately we get, like, Batman and Wonder Woman are all here, and, like, everyone's still around. It's like, okay. And it's just like, trying to piece together, I think, what they wanted this overall, like, big DC universe to be, and they were just trying to throw in these characters just to, like, remind you that, hey, we're connected, where these movies are all connected. And it's like, you don't have to do that. Like,
Right.
we get movies all the time from Marvel that,
Sometimes the only time is just that end credit scene.
yeah, most of the time they're
Yeah.
really just that end credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we get Iron Man after the events. Iron Man 3 comes after the events of Avengers. You don't see a single other Avenger. Like, you don't
Nope.
see anyone else from that movie. I don't even think you see. Do you see Nick Fury in that movie? Is that the one where you see Nick Fury?
might.
No. That's
that-
the second one where you see Nick Fury.
Oh, yeah, because it's the setup, too.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. You don't see him at all in there.
Mhm.
You get like War Machine and like.
That's the one.
But I mean, that's an Iron Man character, so
Yeah.
we're fine to have him here. And it was just like, just kind of trying to pick at things, and like they show like Nick Cage as Superman because that was rumored. He got a casting, like audition tapes that exist out there, and they just like used that, but CGI'd it all to hell so that they could use his likeness in the movie, but actually never casted Nick Cage in the movie at all. And it was just like, these small things, showing like the original Superman, and just like it was clearly just a dog and pony show, basically, just to show you that we too can, hint at like these other universes, these alternate realities where we had these movies that basically flopped. And it felt like the Deadpool and Wolverine movie before it existed, except for it's funny when Deadpool does it because he's addressing
Yes.
the meta of those things instead of just like hinting or saying that they exist.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Have you seen The Flash?
No.
You're really not missing much. We get our first on-screen Supergirl, and that's cool. I love Supergirl as a character, but it wasn't even like real Supergirl. I'm not really sure what was going on there. Like, I'm not really sure what was happening. But then we get Black Adam.
I'll tell you right now, this is another one based upon reviews that I just was like, I'm not gonna watch. That's initially what I was on Flash too. There were people who were split on Flash who were like, oh, it was a good movie, and I was like, okay, well, is it a good movie because it's a good movie, or is it a good movie because it's like good for the DC universe sort of movie?
Sure.
And that's where I was like, oh, it's not good for the DC universe, and really, like, if it's not going to set this up, I don't care. And then got to Black Adam with the reviews, and was just like, all right.
Well, Black Adam, I really like Black Adam as a character,
Mm-hmm.
and we had this Shazam movie, and then this was supposed to kind of be like the origin of those powers, basically, because they actually share the same power set.
Yep.
And from what I hear, on the production side, it was basically just The Rock really wanted to play this character because he actually looks like him, which is fair, and he just really wanted to play this character. He wanted to be the face of the Dark Justice League, and it was basically, what I hear is just a big ego trip for Dwayne basically the whole time, and the movie wasn't even that good, and it kind of just flopped, and he insisted heavily that they bring Henry Cavill in as a post-credit scene in order to establish his connection to their overall universe. 1 month later, Henry Cavill gets fired or let go or whatever they have their issue.
Yep.
And it's just like, what are we doing here? You know? And then, kind of to mirror that, and I always compare, John Cena and Dwayne because they come kind of from the same they come from the same start, right? They start wrestling, and then they
Yeah.
start doing movie appearances and kind of like acting here and there, and then eventually just becoming full-tail actors. And we get John Cena, who was in the Suicide Squad, second iteration, as Peacekeeper, in which he gets his own show. And this show is great. Have you seen the show?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, again, not fully.
Okay.
Parts.
I have not seen any of it.
Okay.
Not that I don't want to see it. I just
So I'll say I think it does a good job of doing what most superhero movies should be doing comparative to like just any movie. Like if you're going to write a movie, obviously you need a good tone across the entire plot, but like the tone is obviously meant to be like a good line that's walked between comedy and seriousness. Similar to like Deadpool, where like you're not detracting from Deadpool because he's funny. He just is funny,
right.
Sort of thing. And they're doing that with John Cena's Peacemaker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
yeah, in that way,
the tone is not changing where it's like serious comedy, serious comedy, serious comedy. It's like it's walking that line the whole time without going too far into one of the other one while it throws off. So there's that. It maintains that consistency from the character you've seen before. There's no like weird flashbacks. There's no weird out of left field. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Without like a reason or a good, here's why that makes sense sort of scenario. And then most importantly, the actor just seems to be having fun playing their character.
For sure. And overall, they've had, general success, I think, since Peacekeeper came out and James Gunn has taken over now. We've gotten the Peacekeeper, 2 seasons of that, and there's this weird little portion where James Gunn said that he's going to keep Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle was like, I forgot to address Blue Beetle.
I think the hero is cool, though.
Yeah, I think the movie is really, like, reminiscent of, like, a Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
I'm always going to compare DC to Marvel just because that's what we have as far as a basis to go off of as far as, like, superhero movies. Where it's, like, Blue Beetle overall is a heartwarming story about, like, a younger superhero. And it has, like, its funny comedic moments just because of, like, it's just a little bit silly, But it's also, it's about someone trying to become a superhero and understand where that comes from and what that means to,
I think it does a really good, like, origin story, and I think that's the most important part of it, is that it's a good origin story for a character that people may not know.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And they dress like the old Blue Beetle a little bit because he's actually technically the second iteration of Blue Beetle.
Yep.
And I think overall, have you seen Blue Beetle?
I haven't finished it, but I've gotten about 3/4 of the way through.
Okay, yeah. And I'd say overall it was pretty good. I do hope that, James Gunn sticks to at least that rumor. I guess I don't really know if he said that anywhere in any interview. It's just a rumor I heard that he was going to keep Blue Beetle. Maybe the movie isn't canon, but the actor will continue to play that character. And that'd be great because I think that movie was really good, and I think that was one of the old DC's. One of my favorite movies of the Snyderverse era. But we're going to wrap up here, but I just do want to talk about DC's latest successes. And I do think they're headed in a correct direction here with James Gunn on board. And, like I said, we've seen the Peacekeeper movies. We had Superman. Superman was a pretty good success. I think Superman overall was pretty good. We sprinkled in a little bit of extra characters. We didn't really give origin stories to them. I don't think it was necessary, like in their context, and we actually didn't give a real origin story to Superman, and I don't think we need to because Superman's so established. We know who Superman is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Did we need to create origin stories for the Justice Society of America? I don't think we did. I think they were fine, just the way they were. We understand their power sets. Green Lantern was one of them, so we kind of understand Green Lantern to a little bit.
Yeah.
Hawkgirl was in there, and she's pretty easy to see as a power set. And then Mr. Terrific, I think, was also pretty easy to see. He was just smart.
Yeah.
So I think overall, they actually picked probably 3 characters that were pretty easy to just throw in the movie and be there. And then the movie overall was pretty good. And it sets up for us to have... It was a good setup movie where they didn't force it down your throat that we are going to have interconnected movies, but we sprinkled in enough stuff that we can. So they could theoretically have a Justice Society of America movie. They're not going to. They're actually going to have a Lanterns TV show that comes out later this year, where we start addressing the Lantern Corps. I don't know how much you know about Green Lanterns.
I know a bit about the Lanterns, but it is... If there was ever something that was confusing to me,
Sure.
it's Lanterns.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure it all makes sense once you really get into it, but, like, when you first, like, look at it, you're like, there's the Green Lantern. He's the Green Lantern, right? That's what it is. And they go, no. He's a Green Lantern. You go, okay.
Thousands of Green Lanterns.
And then you're like, yeah, surely it's like 1 or 3. And then they go, no. Thousands. And you go, wait, what do you mean there's thousands, right? And they go, now just wait. There's not just green, but there's yellow, there's red, and they just started naming off colors, and you go,
pink,
what?
White, blue,
And then they go, and guess how many there are of those? And you're like, 1? And you go, no. 2 to 3? Thousands. And you're like, so much to know.
Yeah.
So.
And I think they're gonna keep it grounded. I think it's gonna be like more like a buddy cop movie. I think it's a mentorship where like the old Green Lantern, because technically you're supposed to pass down the powers. Sometimes there's more than one human Green Lantern, but theoretically there's usually only one human Green Lantern.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. Anyway, so that's gonna be, I think, a nice TV show where it's just like feels like it's gonna be very grounded and maybe have a little bit of their powers. We have Supergirl that comes out this year, so that seems like it's gonna be pretty good. And as far as DC going, I think they're going to be successful here in the future as long as everything maintains, the same tone. I think is a big thing for them. Because I feel like in the old DC, the tone wasn't always the same, and maybe the genre was. And the genre being the same is the problem.
Well, I think the tone should be consistent too.
That's what I mean. The tone should be the same. The genre can change.
Yes, and they had it the other way around.
Yes. And I think that's where Marvel succeeded, is because they were keeping everything tonally the same, but the genres would flip. And so far, we've had Peacekeeper, which I think is a different genre than Superman, but they tonally at least look the same. Maybe they're not, the directing isn't necessarily the same.
Well, I would say we should use like some of their bigger successes too, where it's like the tone of Suicide Squad 2 and the tone of Peacemaker. Consistent.
Yeah, I would even say the Suicide Squad and Superman, I think, are even tonally similar. Clearly different genres, which is good. They're setting up different things, but if you watch one movie and then the other, you'd be like, okay, I could see these 2 movies could at some point be related or connect. Like I could see one of these guys show up in that movie and make sense where it looks like it makes sense. Whereas compared to like, the tones of all the movies were just like strange, but they were trying to make Aquaman basically be the same as a or Wonder Woman movie, but it's just like they shouldn't be the same type of movie.
Say there's more franchises we can bag on too, like Pokemon versus Digimon. Obviously, we don't have the time for it in this one.
Sure, yeah, and maybe this is a recurring segment, and maybe we'll go into in the future where where we're just success versus failure franchise, and this is clearly the superhero one. We'll talk maybe Star Wars, Star Trek. I don't know that much about Star Trek, but I know that they've
I don't think that either one's really had like, I would say necessarily a super big failure, but I will say comparatively, I think Star Wars has done some better stuff. But obviously, this will be for the next.
I think
one.
Star Trek is kind of like held the line, where Star Wars has been.
That one's got the ups and downs.
Some ups and downs. So I think that's going to be our episode for today. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Oh, we need to do a hot take.
Oh. Oof. Do you have any hot takes?
I think I'm going to go with a Marvel hot take here. I think the best Marvel movie that's ever been released to date of this episode is original Black Panther, and I don't think any movie has come even any amount close to, not even the second Black Panther. I think if anything, that one should be considered a failure compared to Black Panther in general. But yeah, I think obviously like if they had Avengers, very very good game or movie. We talked about the that being the turning point, but like God, Black Panther just really nails it home when it comes to being a movie. So I mean, maybe that's not as hot of a take as I'm making it, but like,
I think it's a little bit of a hot take. I think
I'm nailing that down as like, and dare I say it, I might even enjoy that more than some of those Christian Bale Batman movies. Like that might be my number one superhero movie overall.
Speaking of Christian Bale and hot takes, Robert Pattinson best Bat.
Oh, I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's honestly at this point, without it being nostalgia loop thing, I think that is objectively true.
Okay.
Just because I think he's obviously we have Christian Bale as Batman and like then or I shouldn't even say Batman. He's the Dark Knight. It's a different iteration of Batman.
It is actually different.
But when we look at like who is the most grounded to what a Batman character should be, it is Robert Pattinson playing that, and obviously it's the way it's written. But I do think he really does embody that like that detective work of Batman without demolishing any of the crime fighting portions, which is I wouldn't say the easiest balance to make, but he's doing a wonderful balance, and I hope they continue with it. So.
Yeah. Christian Bale, I think, does some of the detective work, but also just like pawns a lot of it off on Alfred.
Yeah, 100%. He's just like, hey, Alfred, tell me.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, we'll end it there. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Tell us what you think about any of the successes or failures that we've had, and who's the best Bat, really.
Or your favorite superhero movie of all time.
Favorite superhero movie of all time.
And if you say Morbius, you're wrong.
Definitely are wrong. Although putting it in theaters for a second time is wild. All right, that's going to be it for us. Have a good game.